Some of the most consequential structures built in the last century were never designed to be famous. They were built to solve problems: floods, distances, energy gaps, growing cities. And the solutions turned out to be extraordinary. The projects ahead weren't selected for size alone. Several redefined what was considered physically possible at the time they were built.
For decades, a derelict cocoa warehouse sat at the edge of Hamburg's harbor. Nobody wanted it. The city couldn't afford to demolish it. Then, in 2003, two architects submitted a sketch on a single A3 sheet, a concert hall balanced on top of the existing brick shell, wrapped in 1,096 individually curved glass panels. Wrapped in 1,096 individually curved glass panels. Construction started in 2007. It was supposed to take 4 years and cost $77 million. It took 10 years and cost $866 million. What visitors don't expect: the main auditorium seats 2,100 people, and every single seat is within 30 meters of the conductor. And every single seat is within 30 meters of the conductor. The acoustics were designed so the room itself becomes the instrument. The Falkirk wheel lifts boats 24 meters in roughly 4 minutes, using the same amount of electricity as 8 household kettles. That's not a rounding error. It works because of Archimedes' principle. Both gondolas always hold equal weight, water included, so the motor barely works against gravity. Before 2002, the 2 canals it connects had been severed for decades, the original 11 locks demolished in 1933. Reconnecting them by conventional locks would have taken 90 minutes per transit. What surprises most visitors on the ground: the whole structure rotates as one piece, and standing beside it, you feel the movement before you hear it. The sandstone pillars of Zhangjiajie drop almost vertically, some over 300 meters straight down, too sheer for roads, too narrow for conventional infrastructure. Connecting the valley floor to the plateau above meant engineering inside the cliff face itself. The solution was 3 parallel elevator shafts drilled directly into the rock, carrying up to 50 people per cabin, covering 326 meters in under 2 minutes. What nobody mentions: the external glass panels fog up on cold mornings, so the vertiginous view most visitors expect simply disappears. You get it back about halfway up, suddenly, when the cabin clears the mist line. That moment is unrepeatable. The Magdeburg Water Bridge carries a navigable canal over a river. Not under it, over it. The trough holds roughly 76,000 tons of water at any given moment, suspended 9 to 18 meters across the Elbe on pre-stressed concrete. That number stays constant regardless of boat traffic, because every vessel displaces exactly its own weight in water. So the bridge never gets heavier when ships cross. Engineers had proposed this crossing since 1919. Reunification in 1990 finally unlocked the funding. Before it opened in 2003, barges traveling between Berlin and the Western Canal network had to detour 12 kilometers through 2 extra locks. That detour is now gone. Changi Airport needed a terminal that made a 7-hour layover feel intentional, not punitive. The answer was a 40-meter indoor waterfall dropped through the center of a glass dome covering 280,000 square meters of gardens, retail, and walking trails. But the engineering problem nobody talks about. That much falling water generates constant mist, which would corrode every surface nearby within years. The solution was a custom drainage ring that recaptures and recirculates 10,000 liters per minute before the mist disperses. What visitors actually feel standing underneath it, and most don't expect this, is cold. A genuine localized drop in temperature in Singapore, indoors. How do you build a storm barrier that doesn't kill an entire ecosystem? The original Dutch plan after the 1953 flood, which killed 1,836 people in a single night, was simple: seal everything permanently. Engineers spent years on that design. Then marine biologists intervened. The sealed estuary would lose its salt marshes, its oyster beds, its migratory bird habitat irreversibly. So the final structure became 65 movable concrete piers, normally open, closing only during storm surges above 3 meters. The compromise cost 4 times the original budget. On calm days, you can walk its 9-kilometer length, and the North Sea moves freely underneath your feet. The train enters the viaduct and immediately curves into a tunnel cut directly into the cliff face. There's no station, no platform, no pause. The Landwasser Viaduct in the Swiss Alps carries the Rhaetian Railway 65 meters above the river on 6 limestone arches, each spanning 20 meters, built between 1901 and 1902 without reinforced concrete. Just stone, lime mortar, and a timber scaffold that workers dismantled by hand after each arch cured. What surprises people who ride it? The curve is so tight, 100-meter radius, that you can see the locomotive from your window as it disappears into the rock. The whole crossing takes 11 seconds. A resident on the 18th floor described it once as living inside a slow argument between architecture and nature. Some trees have outgrown their original positions, roots pressing against the concrete balustrade edges in ways nobody fully predicted. Milan's Bosco Verticale holds 800 trees across 2 towers, each tree individually anchored and irrigated, selected after a decade-long arborist study matching species to sun exposure per floor. The soil load alone added roughly 30% to standard structural requirements. What nobody anticipated, birds colonized the upper canopy within the first year, establishing nesting patterns 17 floors above street level. The city hadn't seen that before. From the waterfront in Malmö, it doesn't look like it's standing still. The turning torso rotates 90 degrees from base to roof across 54 floors, each pentagonal segment twisted slightly against the one below, so the building appears to move as you walk around it. Santiago Calatrava based the form on a sculpture of his own, a marble torso mid-rotation, spine compressed under tension. When it opened in 2005, it was the tallest residential building in Scandinavia. What upper-floor residents actually report? On high wind days, the building produces a low, barely audible creak, structural, expected, documented, that you feel more in your chest than here. Before 1921, the railway line through Sri Lanka's hill country simply stopped at a gap in the jungle, two unconnected sections, separated by a ravine near Demadara. Steel was unavailable. World War I had consumed the supply chains. A local builder named PK Apuhami proposed using only brick, stone, and cement, no metal reinforcement. British engineers doubted the spans would hold train weight across 9 arches covering 91 meters. They held. A century later, the bridge carries daily passenger trains through dense tea plantation country, and the viewing point below it, an unmarked path most tourists miss entirely, gives you the full curve of all 9 arches simultaneously. Two enormous stone hands emerge from the hillside at 1,400 meters above sea level, holding a 150-meter pedestrian bridge as if lifting it from the jungle below. The hands aren't decorative. They're the primary structural support, distributing load across the slope without deep foundation drilling into Bana Hill's unstable granite shelf. The bridge opened in 2018 and within 6 months had become Vietnam's most photographed structure. What most visitors don't realize standing on it? The glass panel sections aren't transparent for aesthetics. They allow engineers to visually inspect the cable tension from above without stopping foot traffic. The fog rolls in most mornings before 10 and erases everything. Dubai's building code had no category for a structure with no flat facades, no straight edges, and no conventional load-bearing walls. The Museum of the Future is a torus, a hollow elliptical ring, 77 meters tall, clad in 1,024 stainless steel panels laser-cut with Arabic calligraphy that also function as the exterior skin's structural bracing. The calligraphy isn't ornamental. Remove it. The shell loses rigidity. Engineers developed the panel jointing system from scratch. Nothing comparable existed. What visitors notice inside that photos never capture. The atrium has no central column interrupting the view, and the curvature of every corridor means you're never quite sure which direction you're facing. cast iron trough carrying the Llangollen Canal across the Dee Valley in Wales is exactly 1.60 meters wide, precisely enough for one narrowboat with no room to pass oncoming traffic. That measurement wasn't an oversight. Thomas Telford designed it in 1805 to the minimum viable width, cutting material cost enough to make the project financially viable at all. The towpath sits on the same level as the water, separated by a single iron railing 38 meters above the valley floor. No barrier on the waterside. Walkers who cross it report the same thing. The rational mind knows the railing is there, but the body doesn't entirely believe it. The problem wasn't building a 1 to 92 meter stainless steel arch over St. Louis. It was keeping both legs growing at identical rates from opposite sides until they met at the top, a single keystone section weighing 10 tons, inserted last. Any thermal expansion mismatch on a sunny construction day would misalign the legs by centimeters, making the final join impossible. Workers used hydraulic jacks to force the gap open on warm afternoons before sliding the keystone in. It worked on the first attempt in October 1965. What visitors inside the tram capsules discover: the ride to the top takes 4 minutes, the capsules tilt continuously to stay level, and the observation windows are smaller than a sheet of paper. The sphere's exterior LED surface contains 1.2 million pucks, each one an individually addressable light unit, covering 54,000 square meters of curved facade. That makes it the largest LED display ever built, visible from commercial flight altitude on approach to McCarran. Inside, the screen wraps the entire interior bowl, 16,000 square meters of display at 16K resolution, with a haptic seat system delivering physical sensation synchronized to the visuals. What nobody anticipates before their first show: the image fills your complete peripheral vision, which triggers genuine spatial disorientation in a significant portion of the audience. The exit queues move slowly. People need a moment before they can walk straight.